Hello everyone, welcome to our Let's Play series of Underrail Expedition. This is Colonel RPG as usual, and I'm very happy that you're supposed to join me today in one of 4 areas so far that we have explored in the expansion. We've been here for a few episodes, and we just have these 4 areas. There's Seeger over there, and we got other characters over here. I suppose I don't need to mark Seeger anymore. We know who Seeger is. He's the one that has the coffee maker machine. We need to come back over here, talk to Commander Captain. And that's the one. No, it's not Oldsfield. Is it Oldsfield? You're here, Carrie. Good. Seeger just sent me the files. Yeah, and he told me to see you. Yeah, I've asked you to come to my tent in order to explain to you what this whole expedition is about, what its purpose is, as well as the details of your first mission. After all, unless you have sufficient wider knowledge on the subject of our interests here, you know, one can't expect from you to perform optimally, can one? I've been receiving bits and pieces here, which have sparked my interest. Oh, excellent! Some 3 to 3.5 centuries ago, this whole enormous cavern was chosen as the location of a major NFT project, the abbreviation standing for New Frontier Technologies, a super corporation that can be said to have been comparable to Biocorp in power and influence, to Biocorp and to the other 4 super corporations, to be exact. The other 4? Yeah, Security Agency, Bionic Institute, Nucleus Corporation, and Transcendix. Alongside Biocorp and NFT, they were the T6, the 6 super corporations of the pre-descent times. The old world, if you prefer. NFT is the one who we will focus on. Also, is this the first time we're actually knowing about what the heck happened to this, and if this is a post-apocalyptic world or what it is all about? Because I think it is. I think this is the first time. I don't think the game actually acknowledges why we are underground in the first place. But there it is. Anyway, he says, New Frontier Technologies is... Can you imagine if it was like MSI and they went on with micro, super... and what does MSI stand for? Anyway, NFT is, or was, I should be more accurate, a super corporation primarily dedicated to discovering, exploring, and populating new environments, worlds mankind could only dream of making their homes. They would populate those worlds. They just develop technologies that would allow them to adapt to those or these environments to the needs of mankind, but also to do it in a fashion that preserved as much as possible of the environments, I think, or in case of barren, desolate places, to breathe new life into them and turn them into something greater. They were explorers, visionaries, futurists, and, as often follows, utopists. As very rarely does indeed follow utopists. Usually utopists... Well, it depends, I suppose. We do not, says the professor, or might not ever know where they had expended following the descent and whether they have met any success, but the one place they have settled in that we know of is right here, under the surface, in this sea. The lack of commas here makes it super difficult, and then you need to add to that the wrong tenses that are wrong. So anyway, where sadly their success no longer resides. What's this place called? It must have had a name in NFT's time. Well, we don't know, unfortunately. No record exists that could tell us that. The name we academics use is the Black Sea Project, but that's just how we've designated it, which is how every name works. But anyway, let's skip right past that one. We hope that will change soon, though, after we have learned more about this place and what happened here. So you mentioned something about Biocorp military. Are they responsible for all this? Yeah. It has been known for years with great certainty that it was Biocorp's navy that demolished NFT's facilities and killed, for all we know, the entire population. It was a holocaust. This very island was the... Holocaust means specifically regarding fire. I mean, unless you're making it to be a metaphor, in which case it wasn't a holocaust, because if it's a metaphor to the historical Holocaust, which should be really weird because there's no historical references in this game, but anyway, that's meant to be on fire or off fire. I don't actually know the formation of the word though, but I'm 99% sure that it is what that word means. It's burning everything with fire. This very island, he says, was the first and last NFT had... Also, it's pretty rich that they are attacking so-called natives and then trying to come up with this with references like this. Well, we'll see. This very island was the first and last stand NFT made before their demise. The exact reasons for this brutal, merciless act are still under debate, but the best substantiated hypothesis, and thus the most popular, is that Biocorp saw NFT as competition and sought to eliminate them. Some scholars say that they were in conflict even before the descent, but then again, there's also strong evidence suggesting the exact opposite. That they were not in conflict before the descent. Which is the exact opposite. Anyway, I think that's what he means. What is a fact is that Biocorp was the one who initiated the attack on NFT after discovering their facilities here. That much we know from Central Archive records. But more on those some other time. Let's remain focused, for we could go on forever on this subject. He takes a sip of water from a plastic cup that was on his desk since you came in. Or had been, actually. That one is properly used. So far, we established what NFT was, what their vision was, and that the Black Sea is one of the locations, if not the only location, where they attempted to realize their vision. What follows is their demise at the hands of Biocorp military and military might, after which things became rather dark, unclear. Our mission here is to unearth history, to piece together the events that led to NFT inhabiting this place following the descent, to learn what happened during their reign and what their technological achievements were, what they discovered. Not only that, but also what happened in the subsequent years after they ceased to be. Biocorp slowly abandoned the Black Sea after making sure their enemies wouldn't rise again, but we don't know why. They never exploited any of the NFT achievements here, nor expanded into the area themselves, even though they were here because they abandoned it, so I don't know what you mean. But anyway, why? This place has been shunned ever since. There has to be a reason. Shunned by you, mind you, because there's pirates and so-called natives. There are many questions, he says. There are many questions that await answers, and we hope the expedition will bring us just that. It's answers that we want. Your ultimate mission, Carrie, no matter the recovery or escort job you might have been sent on, the mission is to bring us history, technology, art. Have you seen the enthralling sculptures that still guard their long-dead creators? The lighthouses, proud and beautiful, guiding even those who they were not built to guide? They produce so much, and it would be a shame not to preserve such marvels. If you see the natives, though, shoot them dead, because they are not marvelous. They are bad. You can definitely draw that conclusion from his speech here. And their technology, he says, born out of the super steely will to tame the untamable. That's how it is. Their technology could illuminate this dark world for us like we never imagined. Goodness me, even despite the dangers, right now I personally wouldn't be anywhere else but here. Well, frankly, Professor, I can't wait to get started. You got me all hyped up now. Let's say that. There's a lot of exposition. The exposition like this can work totally fine as long as that's not what's at stake here. We need a proper drive. We can't you can't expect the player to just connect based on the exposition alone, because they are all dead by now anyway. So it's like, I mean, it's more interesting to figure out what the pirates are up to and all that sort of stuff. So I guess that's what I really have to go on. Excellent, says the professor. That kind of spirit is precisely what we need. Now, with that out of the way, let's proceed to your mission. Seeger has recently managed to recover data from one of the NPCs. Oh, he also shared with me the thing you were going to say, yeah. Oh, I see. How much did he manage to tell you before I video called him? He told me that the NFT personnel were implanted with these microchips and that they can be used to open the keep, he said. capital K, and the other facilities. He didn't tell me where to get one, though. Oh, good. Well, as far as we know, all the personnel had been or was implanted in their right hand between the root of the thumb and the index finger. But the problem is that all the bodies we found on the island either or had missing or damaged limbs as a consequence of the battle in which they fell. Those that had an intact right hand had microchips that were sadly no longer in a functional state. Finding bodies is a difficult task since it seems that the largest battle occurred here, right on this island. Those who didn't participate have remained locked in the facilities, most probably, and those facilities we can't open. Most, I should say, because there is one. What does he mean by that? I don't know. The West Storage Depot. Okay. Hold on. Chief Briggs mentioned a whole recovery team going after this. Shouldn't we all be briefed? The chief has been busy, so I am not aware if he assembled the team yet. Regardless, everyone else has been briefed about the thing we just discussed. I've told you my part. I wonder if it's the manner of speech, because I suppose it kind of works. But it's not. We see all other characters say stuff like that. Because he keeps using that tense. To have had. Or to have and then the past tense. Anyway, the rest is up to Chief Briggs. See him in his tent. I forwarded the data Seeger sent me. Yeah, I did. And he checks his computer there. That's all I had for you. Do you have any further questions? Yeah, I have a few questions for you. What can you tell me about Seeger? Oh, Jeremy, yeah, good fellow. One of the finest students at the Faculty of Information Technologies, and the head of the university's IT center, and he's been an assistant of mine in the field for a few years now, even though his appearance might not suggest it in the least. Because he looks 12, apparently. That's nothing special for Southerners, really. Regular street looks. Does he look young? Is that the implication here? Apparently he's casual, street looks, criminal fashion, freaky. Looks cool to me. Looks as something does. I'd gladly study at your university if everyone was dressed like that. Yeah, I'm sure, he says. But goodness me, he wasn't like that. He looked normal, by our standards at least. It all began with his recent move to Hexagon. Oh, yeah, Hexagon. Yeah, it's the second largest city in North Underrail. Second only to this. But once you step into it, it's as if you've stepped into another world. It's a tech hub, a haven for tech heads and tech criminals alike. But to me, it looks more like tech slums, with all the stores, augmentation shops, cyber centers, tech armories, all crammed together in this confined vertical space that is the Hexagon. And Seeger naturally found this attractive? Indeed. There are some things you can only find in Hexagon, and that I can understand. But by the caverns, this recent virtual mixed reality, whatever it is, craze... Okay, this virtual reality craze that spreads among the Hexagonians has captivated Jeremy as well. I was seriously considering taking someone else to this expedition, fearing he would show up with visible ocular implants, gross, or some other kind of augmentation done in some shoddy Hexagonian, shop. You should have seen some of those people. Seeger's appearance is just a mild case of exposure to Hexagonian depravity. But he's an expert at what he does, and I need him here. And his eyes don't look gross, apparently. That's a very big concern of him. What about the super corporations? Yeah, he tells me about that. Wait, years before the descent. Yeah. As far as it's known, in the years before the descent, capital D there, the end of history, also capitalized, so it's important, it's an actual thing, as some old records call it, even though that history means a period of time that is recorded in the written word. That's what it means. If the history ends, then or history ends. I mix up my H's when I pronounce things. But if history ends, then it means that you don't record things anymore. Anyway, there were 6 super corporations, so-called multinational, transnational corporations, all members of the T6 group. Very quaint world, the one before the descent, where there were only 6 multinational corporations. These super corporations were, by the end, the most powerful political entities of the pre-descent world. They're Biocorp, as well as the other ones. Okay, what's the T6? At some point in pre-descent history, this group was formed in order for the super corporations to collectively maintain and negotiate and defend their interests primarily against nation states, which were these political entities unified by wholly different factors than those of super corporations. What are these then? Well, Carrie, in simple terms, a nation is an old concept wherein the political identity of a certain people matches their cultural identity. That's an interesting way of putting it. Although political identity there is kind of complicated, because it might be. It's not a nation is not a country. It doesn't have to be a country. A country can have nations inside it, multiple nations, or a single nation can span multiple countries. They're not necessarily correlated. However, political identity doesn't actually mean to be a country. But it is an interesting definition, that one. I like it. It's always, for me anyway, because I didn't study this stuff, it's always complicated to sort of talk about this particular concept anyway, the concept of nation, because it's often misunderstood. Because it's just so often used in wrongly, basically, and so people don't learn what it means. Some people, anyway. Take a group of people speaking the same language, sharing the same territory, origin, ethnicity, and mentality, and give them consciousness of their political identity. Imagine all South Underrailers united under the same banner, so to speak, and working toward the same goals, and being comprised of people who are very much alike. Currently there's no unity, but each station has its own interests in its own way of life. Yeah, he sort of makes it be a cumulative thing? You know, I don't know if it's how it's pronounced like that. What I mean is he sort of makes it, he states it that that you need to be all of these things together. No, it can be any one of these things together, in a mixture of them all. Could there be nation stations? Nation stations. Goodness me, says the professor. Well, I won't say it can't be done, but nation states, not nation stations, were large communities spanning great territories. Yeah, they sort of. Stations are small, minuscule in comparison. The word nation simply implies something greater than that, at least to me. Yeah, he just sort of, yeah. So I was right in assuming that he was actually making it seem like it is the conjunction of all those factors that makes a nation. That's not the case. A nation doesn't even have to have a territory to be a nation. So, yeah, anyway. Of course, as with many things in life, he says, how nations defined themselves or other nations was often a matter of debate, disagreement, and violent conflicts, but that's a whole different topic. Well, yeah, I suppose that's the whole point of being like, no, you're of the other nation, I'm at war with you, I'm gonna punch you. And that's how it goes. It's not the point of nations, mind you. It can be, I suppose. Did you personally choose Ages Incorporated for... Is it Edges? Somebody corrected me in the comments, by the way, about this, and I didn't understand. I'm sorry. Anyway, Ages Incorporated for this expedition. Did you choose that? It wasn't my decision alone, he says. But, no, they were my top choices. Wait, how do you want to phrase that? It wasn't my decision alone, but they were my top choice. Okay. They're simply the best in the business of security contractors. Plenty of... Maybe it means they weren't my only option, but they were my top option. They are simply the best in the business of security contractors. Plenty of experience in most of these sec troopers. Protectorate veterans, as you may know. They were an obvious choice for this kind of mission. And Chief Briggs, I'm gonna ask, did you know each other from before? Richard? Huh. I met him a few times. There were lectures of mine unimportant. But goodness me, we didn't as much as strike up a conversation, he says. I'm not sure what he means by that. Only when I needed to speak with him regarding his employment for the Black Sea expedition did we really get acquainted. Over the course of these 2 weeks, I dare say it grew into a friendship. By the caverns, I think that's what he means by that. Like, by the gods, but it's by the caverns. I hope we all make it out alive, so you can have your friendship blossom into even more friendship, or maybe more. This whole expedition seemed like an expensive endeavor. Did the University of this finance it? I'm not sure how it could. Is it a for-profit university somehow? I'm afraid the expedition's finances don't concern you, Carrie, and they won't be discussed here. All you need to know is that you will be paid the amount you and Chief Briggs agreed on, and you will be paid on time. Now, please, I ask you not to insist on this matter any further, even though you didn't insist on it at all. Yes, okay, let's get this going. Actually, let's look at our mission over here. We have missions done. The camp is under persistent attack. Chief Briggs sees Chief Briggs in his tent. Let's do that. Where's Chief Briggs? I like his voice better. Where's his? Where is his? Marcus Ladelman? Oh, he's down here. Of course! How could I forget? How could I forget, I should say. See, even I'm getting the tenses all wrong as well. Carrie! Professor Oldsfield sent me to see you, sir. You finished his task? Yes, sir. He also explained to me our mission here and introduced me to my first assignment before sending me here. Very good. Have you collected your gear from Marcus? Yep. Very good. Your assignment is to find a working microchip so that we can pass the authentication and authorization scan in order to enter the keep and other facilities. If the data Seeger has recovered is correct, but we have little reason to doubt it at this point. You might have noticed that there is no one else present here with us. That's because you will be going on this mission alone. Alone? I will give you the reason in just a moment. The West Storage Depot is where we're likely to find one of these microchips, since it's the only facility that's currently accessible. However, during our original recon of the Black Sea, we noticed... Yep, definitely not a manner of speaking of his. We noticed several locations where engagements between NFT and Biocorp forces took place. There could be bodies there with functional microchips, but we will need to do a more thorough search of the areas. These locations are close to native territory, so I'll dispatch one heavily armed recovery team to investigate the locations as soon as I'm done with you. Meanwhile, West Storage Depot is located not too far from here, and while not free of danger, it's less likely to turn into a war zone. Therefore, we'll have several locations covered, which increases our chances of finding the microchips. If we're able to do that quickly, and before the natives are able to reconsolidate their forces and attack us again, it's gonna take them a few years, because, you know, babies and growing up and training, we will be able to withdraw all our teams back to the camp in time for defense. Understood? What can you tell me about the West Storage Depot? It's currently home to a community of mutees. We haven't tried making any contact with them so far. You'll be our first representative. Our jet ski patrols have approached the island a few times, and while the mutees did not respond with hostility, it doesn't mean that they won't do it to you, especially not after this attack. We don't know anything of their relations with the natives, but all our observations so far have shown the area to be free of natives. To summarize, you are to sail west to B7, enter the NFT facility, and attempt to obtain a functional RFID microchip. If the mutees are cooperative, try to extract any useful information from them. How you choose to accomplish your assignment is up to you. This concludes your briefing. Sec Trooper Jenkins is back from patrol and is waiting for you at the docks to give you the keys to your jet ski. Because of course we have keys. Of course. I'm not sure. Tanks don't have keys. They might have their jet skis from before. I don't know military equipment, if military equipment has keys. Well, I'm sure like things like Humvees and just stuff like that does. But like full-on military equipment, Yeah, that tends not to have keys. It's like race cars, they don't have keys either. You will need it to reach the island, the jet ski. I don't know if you call them here differently, but I'm talking about single-seat, jet-propelled vessels. You saw them at the dock. I don't know how to ride a jet ski. The ones we use are quite simple to operate. They are super dangerous, by the way. Jet skis are really, really dangerous. Jenkins will tell you all you need to know. That would be all, Carrie. Would you mind answering a couple of questions before I leave? Only if it is something important. Well, then we're gonna have to wait until next episode because it is, I'm sure, important. We'll see. I don't know if it is or not. It depends on the answers, doesn't it? So for right now, I'm Colonel RPG, and this has been Underrail Expedition. I really hope you've enjoyed it. And if you did, go ahead and leave a comment. Like the video if you want to see the next episode come out sooner rather than later. But above all, thank you so much for watching, and I hope I'll see you next episode. Bye-bye.